you doing, Mike AM? It's a good day for a podcast. He said, yeah, let's do it. I said, fuck yeah, okay, let's do it. And that's how it happened, and it's happening now.
Huzzah! It is January something. It doesn't matter because it won't be that date when this gets released. This is the first podcast of the year 2020. Very excited for our guest, Mr. George Furlanetto, Hamilton-based luthier, founder of F-Bass, custom bass guitars. How are you, George?
I'm doing great, thank you. Just getting ready for NAMM. All the stressful part is done.
Oh, very nice.
Preparations.
Yes, you guys posted on your Instagram page all of the models that are being taken to the show this year.
Yeah, lovely candy.
How was NAMM last year?
We didn't go last year.
Oh, you didn't go last year?
No, we were slammed with orders.
Oh.
We're approximately 7 months behind.
That's a good position to be in.
Yes, it is.
I'm sure stressful, but also...
not really, because it's, we stick to our cycle, and we've got it all worked out where everything works well. And everybody knows what they're doing, and it's great.
1978. You built your first bass then?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you had built guitars before that?
Yes, I started building guitars in 76.
Was guitar your first instrument?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yes,
did anyone in your family play?
My mother sang, had a great voice. And my dad was a crafty guy. Looks like I inherited the best part of both.
And you started fixing instruments and then...
Yeah, I was 16 when I started playing guitar and started messing around with instruments.
Nice. And you just had the confidence right away. You could see that something was wrong with the instrument, and you're like, I think
the first one was just a $15 Kent in whatever year that was, 66, I can't remember.
Kent, where did those come from?
I need to make some changes here. I think it was a small solid body, and I wanted to make semi-hollow. So that was the first thing.
The first thing you did was hollow out your guitar.
Build a body for a cheap guitar.
Oh, very cool.
And then
was that successful?
Then I fixed some friends' guitars and fixed the other friends' guitars and just blossomed from there.
Yeah. Were there any kind of hilarious disasters along the way?
Never?
Yeah?
No, I'm sure there were. Oh, yes. When I refinished a friend's 67 metallic blue Strat. In hindsight, of course, it was a sacrilege, but back then, and
he was happy with it. It's what he wanted.
Yeah, I did it in transparent green varathane. And I tried to speed up the heating process with a heat lamp, and that unfortunately burnt a spot on the body. So there was a nice, what would you call it? An eclipse. An eclipse spot on the body.
Have you ever thought to reproduce that effect on purpose?
No.
No, it wasn't a good look.
No.
So there's not many heat lamps in the F-Bass shop?
No.
I was on the website, and there's so many artists that are kind of endorsing the instruments. And Anthony Wellington is one that for me is really exciting because he was in that Victor Wooten Groove Workshop. Have you ever seen those DVDs?
I think I attended one. Yeah.
Oh, you attended that? Oh, very cool. Yeah, I had the DVD series and learned so much from that. And
he's a good instructor.
Yeah. So what's the ideal? I mean, not the ideal bass tone, but what are some bass tones throughout the years that you've heard and have been like, how can I make that? Or not even how can I make that, because I'm sure you weren't listening to music being like, I want to reproduce the instrument that made this, but...
No, I don't know what the first impulse was. I mean, in retrospect, I see basically I'm a deviant of derived from derived from Fender. A Fender was the bass, and I think most of the builders that were around that started when I did, it was everything based on Fender. Other than the Limbic, who was probably the premier boutique bass builder, and they went totally in a completely different direction.
So who are some of like the old school? I mean, Jaco Pastorius, probably one that.
I mean, he was a huge influence on bass, and when I heard it, I went, "What?" Because before that, the things that turned my head were guitar players. So it would have been Jimi Hendrix was a huge influence on my musical experience. Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, the Cream.
Right.
When I first heard that sound, I went, "What the hell is that?" And that's the same reaction I had to Jimi Hendrix. It's what the hell. And Led Zeppelin, not as much, but they had something new. And back then, I wasn't listening to bass; it was guitar.
Right.
So, but that was the '60s, late '60s. I didn't start building basses till '78, and I can't remember why I deviated from guitar. Probably because there were enough guitars, and the bass was more of a niche market. So I decided let's go that route. And I think in '78 I started to play bass, or '76, I can't remember. That's probably what triggered everything.
I
started
just
playing
kind of
bass instead of guitar.
You saw that opening and thought, I could fill that?
I think it was a combination of all those. Started playing bass and saw that the niche market for bass was much smaller. And
then
easier to fit into.
When did Alain Caron come?
I first started building guitars for Michel Cousson in the band, Uzeb. So that was 80, early 80.
Okay.
So I built him a couple of guitars and slid over slowly to Alain. I was shy, I don't know. I said, this great bass player, I got to talk to him. Be still my beating heart. But
so
he's
you'd
a great
seen them
guy
live a few times.
Yeah, he's such a great guy and so approachable. So with Alain, I think I started in '82, built his first bass in '83.
Okay.
So yeah, that's been a long-lived relationship with him.
And he was demanding a lot from his instruments that almost like wasn't even available at the time.
No, all that stuff was not available. I think we started with 5-string. Because his first bass was a Montreal, I think MF Luthri. Built him a 36 fret 4-string, and I already had started 5 strings. I talked to Alain and said, "Alain, instead of going up, why don't you go across?"
Yeah, those frets must have been tiny.
Okay, tiny, and there was his pickups were like bunched up near the bridge. I'm going, you'll get a fuller sound because we can move the pickups back, and it'll be easier for you to play across instead of playing up. And shortly after, they said, "Wow, this is great. We got to do 6 because then it's even
then he
more,
wanted the low string,
a low string and a high string, and it's even more playing across rather than playing up, and you can form chords, and it's all there. You don't have to go bananas with those tiny frets way up high."
Yeah, he's an incredible player.
Yeah, and he's got incredible ears for instrument and how they sound, and together we really learned a lot from each other.
Yeah, I watched that video that, I don't know if you guys made it or someone else came up with the idea of having the two of you talk about it. Yeah, but if anyone's listening to this and is into this, definitely check out that, because it's you and Alain talking about kind of how you work together to kind of formulate the was the BN5, or because eventually it evolved into kind of his 6-string signature,
Yeah.
and there have been a couple of his signature models through the years, right?
Yeah.
There's that that purple one.
A fretted one and a fretless. Yeah.
Yeah.
His signature is the fretless, which we worked on for quite a while.
When did you when was that design finalized?
Trying to remember back, probably 87, 89, late 80s, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And that bass is because he wanted that convincing upright sound, and
I don't know if he wanted an upright sound then, because he was playing mainly solid bodies. But he
Right.
wanted more of an acoustic flavor. He wanted a signature tone for himself, and the acoustic flavor gave him a little more string sound, a little more pop, a little more a quicker attack because it's semi-hollow. And he wanted kind of a hybrid, I think. He wanted to get away from, back then it was all Jocko sound, bridge pickup, solid body, and he wanted something a little different.
right, he wanted a little bit more bass in his bass.
Yeah, a little more bass, a little more acoustic flavor. But he's always wanted, an upright sound in a conventional instrument, like a standard type Fender or a bass. And I developed that recently. Recently would be 2006, I think, was the first prototype of getting an upright sound out of an electric bass, and we call that one the Alain Caron Classic.
Right, that was the one that I was thinking, the fretless, right?
Yeah.
With the it has that thumb rest all the way. Is the function of that thing a thumb rest?
If you like thumb rests, yeah.
If you like-
It's there for you to rest your thumb.
Yeah.
But it's very acoustic, so it's chambered. The bridge actually vibrates on a tone plate, so it's very acoustic sounding.
How long does NAMM last? I've never been. Can you walk me through a typical?
Yeah, it's 4 days. It starts on a Thursday to Sunday, but we need to get there 2 days in advance to set the whole thing up. And it's just, I can't remember how many exhibitors there are. I think there are 2,000. And it's all kinds of musical instruments and musical accessories, recording instruments, just everything, lighting, DJs. And the nice thing about NAMM, it's a congregation of artists, makers, builders, suppliers, and it's a nice place to network with everybody.
A lot of people you recognize kind of walking around.
Yeah. Go, oh, there's Stevie Wonder. Oh,
Holy!
there's Kiss. It's
Oh, for real?
The gamut. Oh, yeah, the gamut.
Oh, wow.
The gamut is there.
Do they hang out together? Did you see? Was it a member of Kiss, or did you see?
It's usually, I can't remember his
Ace
name,
Frehley?
the singer.
Oh, a couple of them sing, don't they?
Well, the
Gene?
lead singer.
Is Gene
Guitar
Simmons
player.
the lead singer?
Who?
Gene Simmons, or is Ace
No,
Frehley?
Gene Simmons is the bass player.
Ace Frehley is the.
Is it Ace Frehley, the guitar player? I don't remember.
I'm gonna cut out me
Big
not
tall
knowing
guy.
anything about Kiss, so I
Big
don't
tall
embarrass
guy with
myself.
a voice that
Yeah.
sings. He's usually there. I've never seen the others, other members there.
Wow.
Yeah, there's tons. I mean, the manufacturers will bring them in to showcase their instruments and things. I believe Eddie Van Halen was there. Just a lot of artists. I can't remember them all.
Do you get a chance to walk around a bit, or
Not
Are
much.
you have your hands full
I
at the
try
booth?
to, but it's our booth is slammed,
Uh-huh.
and even with 4 people manning the booth, there's so many people coming. I think I got away last time maybe 40 minutes of the whole show, and it's from 10 till
for
5
4
every day.
days.
Yeah, 4 days of
7-hour days
of seeing
Yeah.
people. It's great.
Wow. Probably gets pretty noisy in there, huh?
It can. They try to keep it controlled, but it's impossible. I mean, their noise level limit is 96 dB.
Does someone like walk around with?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
There are security guys with their meter, but the ambient noise there is about 98. So I don't know how they do it. It's impossible. And to hear a bass properly, you're going to hit 100. So, They often ask us politely to turn it down. And we go, it's the bass. It's all about the bass. But we get along. It's okay.
It's a challenging instrument to be able to practice, right? Because you want to be practicing, the way you're expressing the tone, right? And the way you attack, where you attack is all going to come through differently. But if you're not plugged in and at a minimum volume, you're not going to hear those qualities.
No, you can't. It's a lot of it's about the air movement and the punch you feel in your chest when it comes back, and it's got to be, a little louder. I went to see a band a couple of nights ago, and the drums and bass were not loud enough, and I'm going, okay, this music is wimpy. And it's the drums and the bass. So they gotta punch out and move people. And it's the same thing.
There's a lot of ignorance, I feel, surrounding that, because people will complain about noise levels who don't really understand how that works. Because if you want to hear rock music, you have to have drums being attacked at a certain velocity, right? There is obviously overkill, right? Some people do play too hard, but there is a minimum hardness with which a drummer has to play, and then the rest of the band has to come up to match that. And everyone, anytime there's amplified music at all, I'd say you should be wearing earplugs, right? So, for people, I saw this forum on the Hamilton Music page where people are like, I shouldn't have to wear earplugs. It's like, you should always wear earplugs when there's live music, because things feed back, and that can be extremely loud. And not only that, but if you get the right earplugs, it sounds better. So
there's a lot of education required, especially for sound guys. I mean, you shouldn't have to wear. My feeling is you shouldn't have to wear earplugs. You can actually bring that music up to a fairly decent level where you can, hear the music comfortably and feel the punch and the drive comfortably without excessive. I mean, I've heard some really loud bands, and I'm going, wow, too loud.
Oh,
it's just, even with earplugs, it was too much. I mean, and I'm cursing soundmen all the time because of the bass drum thing all the time. I mean, it's my wife goes, and I'm going, no, it's not right.
What is it about the bass drum that they do wrong?
The bass and the drums, they don't mix them right. In an auditorium, usually all you hear is the kick drum going thumping and burying the bass, and I can't hear the bass notes distinctly.
You need to
you need to properly EQ the two, cut the drums at 200 or whatever,
so that the kick is supporting the bass attack,
and the bass can flow a little underneath that, but not make the bass woofy and mushy, so all the notes are indistinguishable. You gotta anyway. My pet peeve. Sound men. They never make the bass sound right. And it's I think for me it's the most egregious sound man fault. Is how to make the bass sound good. You can hear all the notes, make it punchy and not stadium woof.
I find that very often a great bass tone in a band mix doesn't sound great on its own. Like, you need to dial a little more attack into it, and that gets kind of drowned out, and then that's the right amount of attack. Do you know what I mean?
Possibly.
Or maybe by now you're so attuned to that you're like, yeah, that's the sound.
Yeah.
But for me, there's like almost like a kind of scooped sound that I really like the sound of by its own.
Yeah.
But then doesn't have any presence in the mix.
I find in a bass tone, the mids are the most important frequency.
Yes.
To get correct. If you don't have mids, you don't hear the notes.
You don't have notes, exactly.
You don't cut through the mix. Nobody hears what notes you're playing. Very important for the accuracy of the note, definition of each note.
Mm-hmm. There is probably a style of bass playing where it doesn't matter as much. Like you think about like a hip hop tune or something like that, where it's not like even the recording doesn't really have a bass note. It's just like this like underlying.
Yeah, it all depends.
Yeah,
but if you're a bass player, you got to hear what you're playing. You can't go woof. Whoa, am I playing sharp or flat?
Well, the F-bass can do all those things, right?
Yes, there's enough variation there, and actually what we've done is blindly moved all the knobs in any position, and they all sound good. Sorry. They're all very musical. They're all very natural. There's no bad sounds.
Yeah, it scares me the amount of tech that's going on inside of the thing compared to, your average instrument. And it's not to say that those other basses aren't great, but I see those as like tools that do a specific job really well, whereas you've designed this like all-in-one tool that a gigging bass player can take and replicate all these different sounds that he's hearing on records. And that's pretty fantastic. And you've even made like the F-bass preamp as an external thing. Yes. So people's regular basses can even go toe-to-toe with your instruments.
Yeah.
Because people were finding they were getting one of your instruments, and then all of their other stuff became obsolete because it just didn't sound good in comparison.
Yeah.
And so you solved that for them.
Yeah. Give them a little more tonal palette.
Yeah. Did you grow up in Hamilton?
I was born in Italy.
You were born in Italy.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
So I'm an immigrant.
When did
Came
you move
here when I was 8.
8.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there's no trace of an accent, but
No,
you do speak the language.
I was young. Yes, I'm fairly fluent.
Yeah.
Although when I went back to Italy and spoke to people in Italian, they answered me in English.
Oh.
And I'm going, do I have an accent? I guess. Wow, I didn't detect any, but yeah, I'm fluent, so I can speak.
I hope that you continue speaking Italian.
Yeah.
When they answer you in English.
Oh yeah,
I just like, okay, I get that you want to practice your English, but I want to practice my Italian.
Yeah, next time that happens, I'm going to ask them, what is it you detect that you answer me in English?
What was? Were there a few shops before the one that you're in now?
Yes, this is our third location.
Third one?
Fourth if you don't count my parents' basement. Where I sprayed and, oh my God, sprayed indoors in the basement with lacquer fumes all over the house, God. Sawdust. Woo. Yeah, I think I opened the basement window.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's safe then.
Yeah. Even in the wintertime.
Yeah.
No, actually, fifth location, because I worked at a local music store for 9 years. Yes. So I did repairs there and some refinishes there as well. And that was in the basement of Waddington's, which had been around since 1910. Wow. So it was a well-founded store, and I joined them in 1969. So I worked there until 1978 when I left to go on my own.
Oh, wow.
Did a lot of repairs there and got to know a lot. Learned quite a bit.
And it was all just kind of, even stuff that you hadn't done before. You were just the person that they trusted more than themselves to do it.
I learned as I went because there was nothing available then other than there was a book on how to build a classic guitar. I think that's all the information there ever was.
Nothing about
Everything
pickups
else I
in that
learned
book.
from doing, and just like playing music, you learn from practice.
Okay, so this is something that's been explained to me before, but it didn't. I didn't figure it out. So pickups, I understand that they're not just magic, but there's no there's a battery in the F bass, but like a regular guitar with passive pickups,
Correct.
there's no electricity coming from that. There's magnets, I guess, detect somehow the strings
The string
moving
vibration,
over them and relay that through the amplifier. And what is the amp getting that?
The amplifier is getting an analog signal, which is AC current, push-pull.
Okay.
So what happens is electricity, when it goes through a wire, generates a magnetic field around it. So if that's the wire, there's a magnetic field. And inversely, if you add a magnet, then the magnet induces a current in this wire that's wrapped around the magnets. So what happens is as the string cuts through the magnetic field fluctuates, and it will induce a current in the wire, and that wire signal goes to your amplifier. And so there are these pulses generated by the magnetic field, and inversely the current in the pickup windings that produce an electric signal, which is translated from the vibration of the strings. So that goes down the wire and goes into the amp, and the amp then retranslates back to an audio signal.
Wow.
That electric current. Yeah, so no, pickups are complex things.
So who was the first person to figure that out? Was that? I mean, I guess that went through a bunch of steps to like the radio and before that, right?
Yeah, before that, just electricity in general. So Newton.
Okay.
Way back. And the pickups, I don't know who manufactured the first pickup, because they started with the gramophone that changed vibrations to form grooves in the wax cylinders. I think that may be. And then who was it? Les Paul that took that gramophone needle and stuck it in his guitar.
Oh, is that how that started?
I can't remember if it was him or Rickenbacker. They were both in the early infancy.
Wow.
So it was all that, just translating electricity to amplify audio signal. Yeah, I don't know.
And that's all been just kind of
mystery
exploding out of like since then, right? This sort of relatively new kind of invention that they figured out. That
pickups, yes, I think 30s, 40s, when I think Rickenbacker and Les Paul were messing around.
Wow.
And Fender kind of, there was them and Rickenbacker, I think, at the same time. They kind of refined it for electric guitars.
I always think about that song Rumble by Link Ray. You don't know that one?
No.
Bum, bum, bum.
50s?
No? Yeah, it's like a 1950s thing, and I'll show it to some of my guitar students who are starting out because it's really simple, but it's cool. But I'll be like, this is like the earliest days of the electric guitar, and people are just like, he's just showing off the sound of it. No one had ever heard, an electric guitar before. So it's like he's playing like 2 chords per 2 bars, right, in this like singular rhythm, and it's just like the whole focus of the song is like, listen to how cool this guitar sounds with, like a bit of reverb, a bit of like a vibrato on it.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to see how it's come from that, in a period of like 70 years to like all this like digital processing and, 8-string guitars with whammy bars that go in both directions and MIDI outputs and
yeah,
all that. How do you feel about digital?
I don't know. It's
like a MIDI output on a guitar or bass would.
It's a lot of work, but if it works for you, great. I mean, the instrument's just a tool for whatever's in your head you're trying to get out.
Right.
That's all it is. So it doesn't matter what technology is used to get from the instrument or from your brain out to wherever it's got to go. Cloud now.
In the cloud, yeah.
Yeah.
It just
So
sits there.
think about it, from brain to cloud. That's whacked out.
Yeah.
It's almost like first man on the moon.
Watching some of the kind of factory tours on YouTube and having been there myself, you've got a more in-depth relationship with wood than the average person. How's that like evolved over the year? Because most people don't think about wood at all, but you interact with it all day. How does it speak to you now compared to like when you were starting out?
It is an evolution, and it comes from practice using the same woods. Actually, the benefit for us was that we were making the same model, and so if we changed one factor, we'd know what the difference is. And so that by doing that consistently, we learn what woods do, what hardware does, what different pickups do. And so we've gotten to the point where we can sort of determine what each component will do to the final tone of the instrument. And it's a long process, and it needs to be constant. You can't be making very different items and try to surmise what each component does to the ending result tone.
So how does the neck wood? Because it's rare that you'll have a guitar made entirely of the same wood. How does the neck wood affect the tone? And the fingerboard wood and the body, like those all have.
They all have major effect, and it's probably a percentage. The neck has a ton to do with.
It's more playability than tone.
No,
yeah?
It's the tone generator.
Really? Oh.
You change the fingerboard, it changes the tone.
Oh, that's true.
And the body is more of a colorant and a compression device. Although there's compression in all the woods. Basically, it's physics. So the harder the wood, the harder the tone. It's quite an equivalent equation. And the same with materials for bridges. The softer the material, or lighter weight, then the lighter weight the tone, the quicker the response. The heavier, more dense materials in the bridge, then it's more compression and a thicker, more dense tone with thicker and denser materials. So it's, like I said, the relationship is very equivalent. Right. And I mean, we've got as far as listening to the sound of a chrome bridge and a black bridge and hearing the difference.
What?
It can get that anal.
Oh.
And the gauge of strings has an immensity to do with the balance you like to feel and hear.
Actually, now I can imagine that the bridge would.
Yeah, the bridge
because that's where the strings are kind of tucked in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. and the weight and density of the machine heads. You can go with lighter heads. It just anything and everything changes. The size of the fret wire. It's all minimal, but they will all add up to the tone, the resulting tone. So everything you do changes. The finish, and it's tiny and incremental. But if you do small increments of all the components, you're going to get this great tone in the end.
Right.
So if somebody comes to me and says, I want a really hard compressed tone, then we'll go with heavier woods, heavier hardware. And if you want a bright in-your-face tone, then we'll go with maple, which is a much more mid-rangey resulting tone.
That's so cool. Yeah, because people come to you because they're trying to almost externalize their personality in the sound that they're putting out, right?
It becomes part of you. It's the instrument is very personal. It's not like a piano, although pianos have their characteristics as well. But it's the guitar, violins, any stringed instrument is much more personal than external, like, let's say, electric keyboards.
Right. And you can't bring a piano with you, so you can't rely on your piano being, your personality.
And that's why piano players request certain pianos when they go on tour.
That's true.
They want a certain feel. I mean, the piano does have a feel as well, a bounce back, a tone, whatever. So it's all there.
It's just, I think it's been 11 years since I got this thing.
Yeah. It's an F bass. I know you guys have one from the late 70s at the 78.
The 78.
So probably bass number 2 or 3, not sure which.
Yeah, and obviously you take care of it because you have all the mains too, and
it's not as good as I remember it. I think we build better basses now.
I would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. But it was a nice throwback, and I played it and went, So we decided to make a short run reproduction of that, and it turned out great.
Oh, cool!
Yeah, and I see Scott Devine, online bass tutor, used his a lot. And that's a reproduction. The same materials, not a reproduction of the actual bass, but the same concept in a standard bass, and it sounds great. We went, whoa! Listen to that! Wow, my God! I was on the right path back then. Wow! Let's do it again.
Are you very self-critical? Do you like the way you said that? Like it almost seems like you were like. You're always improving and looking at your past self as being like, I didn't know shit back then. Now it's...
No, I know it's an evolution, but yes, I do. I really enjoy change and change for the better. I'm always looking for new music to listen to. It's not, and it's my personality. I like newness. I like change. It's but I do it slowly, baby steps, and I do it carefully, analytically.
Do you listen to a lot of jazz?
No.
No?
I find I like music with balls. So I listen to jazz and fusion with a little more rock, R&B. I mean, I really like the new fusions of jazz that I'm hearing now, Snarky Puppy and all those type bands. But I also like a really well-written lyric or a really well-written pop song. I'm into good music. It doesn't matter what it is.
A lot of vocal jazz is pretty terrible.
I've heard a couple lately that were really good. They impressed the heck out of me. It was Laila Bialy and Kadri. I can't remember her last name, from Estonia. And it was just her and a jazz, very jazz influenced. It was her and a bass player, and that was it.
Yeah.
But she also works a vocoder. Amazing artist. I went, oh my God, this is great. And it was the concert was with Lila Bialy, so it was a great concert all night. Lots of bass, and but it was new and fresh for me anyway.
Yeah, I think that world is finally starting to embrace those rock elements.
Rock.
The electric guitar has been part of it for a while, but for some reason they just weren't ready to give up that big cello.
Yeah.
Until even I'd say like the last 15 years have been huge, because when I was studying jazz in school, I felt like constantly like I was because I wanted to focus on the electric bass. I was losing a lot of opportunities and it was literally just because of the image, because for a while it's been possible to really kind of fool people of the sound, because regardless you're being plugged in, even if you are playing the upright, it's very rare that you're not playing it through an amp, so it's almost like a redundancy, but everyone who wasn't a bass player just wasn't ready to like lose that, like, if it doesn't have the upright, is it even jazz?
Again, the upright is a whole different feel. It's a personal thing, and you express yourself differently on upright than you do on an electric, just because of the physicality and the size of it. And lately I've been hearing some great stuff on upright. I'm impressed. And it is plugged in, you're right, and through pedals and stuff, and I'm going, oh my God, listen to that. It's like great, bowed and through distortions and flanging and all that.
That's always very cool when you can bring the bow to it, because the electric does not lend itself to that. And there's a lot more coming from your fingers, or depending on how your right hand, if you're a right-handed player, is attacking the strings, right? You can kind of compensate for that with the tone, but with the upright, even if you're plugging it in and shaping the sound, if you're not really giving her on that thing, it's not sounding good. Have you tried the Kala U basses?
Yeah, kind of rubbery.
They
sound great, and it's kind of a weird instrument to play, and again,
it feels funny, but it sounds great.
Oh, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, and that's kind of the funny thing, where you're just like, I could totally get away with this, but I wouldn't like it.
No, it's strange to play. It's tiny. The strings are really thick and very rubbery. But it's cool. It's just a cool offset, and I'm glad people are thinking about other than the standard thing, and there's room for that.
What's your Desert Island album?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Too big of a decision to
that's a huge one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've got, 50 or 60 years worth?
Top three off the top of your head.
Huh?
Top three off the top of your
Hendrix.
Head. All Hendrix?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess my first and biggest eye-opener.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know
music that affected me deeply.
Was the first Hendrix album?
I can't even remember. Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the first one.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like, again, it's like, whoa, what the hell sound is that? What is that? I mean, he was getting incredible sounds out of his guitar. And another album that hit me hard was Gino Vanelli's first album,
right?
Which is the first one, I think, which is a mix of jazz and pop, and it just blew me away. And I went, that was another one. I said, what the hell is that? So there was a couple of what the hell albums in my life.
Yeah.
And Gino Vanelli was another, which was a huge mix of jazz into pop sensibility.
Anything more recent that's made you gone, what the hell? No.
Lila Bialy, maybe, which is, again, jazz with pop influence.
I'm looking forward to checking that out.
Yeah, her and Kadri. Kadri, I'm going to have to get you her last name. They were impressive.
You obviously enjoy what you do.
Yeah,
quite a bit, right?
I need to pinch myself constantly and going, I'm making a living and supporting 10 employees by building basses. Right, which is probably the same thing that musicians, which have hit a certain amount of fame and familiarity, probably do as well, going, wow, I make a living from playing music. But it's great. Yeah.
Do you have any hobbies that you can step away from that?
No.
No. This is, you just found what you like, and that's it.
Go home, eat, and sleep. enjoy family, and
play with your band, and
play with
actually
the band.
get to play with.
That's a blast.
Play the instruments that you build all day.
Play the instrument badly, but but hey, what the heck?
Are there builders that inspire you?
No, I don't think so. I just kind of follow my own path. I appreciate what they do, and some of them are incredibly artistic. And it's a small community, and we kind of all know each other, and we really help each other out. Mike Tobias was a huge help to me when my business was flailing. And he was very supportive and
really
very open. Yeah, and I think...
What does he do? I'm not sure I'm familiar.
Sorry?
Who's he?
Mike Tobias?
Yeah.
He's one of the early...
That's another custom bass company, right?
Yeah, bass company. MTD is called now.
Okay.
And I think he started before me. In that first group of a bunch of people that started, I think Alembic was first. Then it was Tobias, Ken Smith, Federas. There was somebody else, Sadowski.
Who's the one who... I think it's like a very, very small operation, but he made Les Claypool's basses.
That was... I can't remember his name. He was an individual builder in New York.
Yeah, it was
his
like
name
a very
escapes
long...
me.
He only made like 11 a year or something.
Yeah, it's just a single builder, but he was in New York, so... And now he can't do it anymore because he's allergic to wood dust, but he has...
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, it is. Very sad. But he's got a couple of apprentices that continue for him.
That's pretty cool.
And a bunch of apprentices that work for him have spun off into their own building, into their own work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have some apprentices yourself. Your son Marcel.
Marcel is actually covering the social media aspect of the business, artist relations. Because he's in touch with the social media, he's much more aware of artists, new artists.
He doesn't deal with the building aspect of things as much.
He takes orders, and he manages the business end, which is the part I really hated. So it allows me to just to build now.
It's the case with a lot of the musicians we have on here.
Yeah,
where you see it as like this necessary evil, but some people can really have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean he loves doing all of that, and it wasn't my favorite part of the business. Mm-hmm. So,
was the photo studio his idea?
Yeah, because we needed to take photos. So he was shooting a lot, and
that's cool.
So we used up all that ash that we couldn't use. We made a photo studio.
You had to make a nice backdrop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive that like you go out and you pick all the wood that's going to be usable, but even of that, most of it isn't even up to the standards that you build with.
No, we actually sat down and figured out that we use in the final product there's 15% of the wood we started with.
Wow.
So all of that gets wasted in carving. A lot of it we can't use. It's either stained, warped, too heavy, not for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So the stuff we can't use we'll resell. Mm-hmm. But in the machining process we lose a lot of wood.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think we lose 80%.
Holy smokes.
Well, it's just so much carving.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so, yeah.
One of the things I saw you said that every operation is allowed to sit for at least 3 weeks, sometimes a lot more than that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that kind of makes sure that, you know, what people get, it's going to be like that, right? You don't want
as stable as possible, yeah.
Because very often you'll glue some things together and they'll not want to sit together, right?
Yeah, or especially when you cut things, then internal tensions are released and they could distort the thing beyond help. So, yeah, we have to scrap some stuff. And it's, we do our best, but still wood is a living element and it moves. Even after we do all that, there's still a possibility of,
and it still has
the
potential to surprise you even after you've been working with it for so many years.
Yeah,
you'll be like, oh, this is a perfect block of wood, and then it'll just blow up or something
or even
after you cut
the instrument goes haywire. I mean, we ship them all over the world, so the weather changes can often be extreme.
That's true,
and I hope all the bases in Australia survived.
Are there any standout, like just over-the-top custom orders that you've been given that were either particularly challenging or you're just like, there's no way this will work? Or
yeah, some things surprise us when people ask for certain things, and then we'll finish them and go, wow, this is good. And so oftentimes it's part of the building process where you incorporate new things that have developed, whether by chance or by design. And we go, okay, we're incorporating this into our process, or we keep it on file or in my brain for future reference. Yeah.
Any specific examples of that?
No, I can't remember. There's tons.
I really liked, I don't know how new it is, but that there's like a wood trim you guys are doing.
Oh, the binding.
Yeah. And normally you do that with plastic, but wood seems a lot harder to.
Yeah, it is. You got to bend it, and you got to glue it on. Yeah, much tougher. But most of the base is covered in wood. There's not much plastic. I've always hated plastic. Pickup covers and back plates, they're all wood for us.
Yeah, I guess of my questions that I've written down, I've only got one left, and maybe it's a good one to go out on. But in your journey of building this company and pursuing quality as you do, what's one challenge that you came across, and how did you overcome it?
I think the biggest challenge was ignoring the business end, which is part of the brain of a craftsman, that you often exclude that portion and ignore it. And then at one point I really had to go, oh my God, the hell, we're not making any money. I better look at what's going on. I mean, I had ignored it for so long because we had a bookkeeper and such, and it just wasn't my forte. But then I had to buckle up and look at the business end and say, wow, I mean, this is not only a craft, but this is a business. And for the craft side to survive, you got to take care of the business. So it was looking at that and rebuilding, and it was a stressful single year, which was weird because by the following year when I changed everything and looked at the business and said, okay, we got to do this, 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 and this. And once I did that, the following year we made money. And it was so rapid, I couldn't believe. I mean, I was really at my wit's end, and I did look at selling the company, but because it's a craftsman-driven
it's almost
company,
like an extension of yourself.
Yeah,
like without you, it's
you.
not
You
worth
can't sell
anything
you
to anyone. Yeah,
you got to be there, and so the company was, the value of the company was only hard assets, and it wasn't much. I'm going, oh. So I sat down and worked out, okay, we're building this many, we're bringing in this kind of money. What do I have to do to balance the books? I said, oh, okay. It was really that, as simple as that. It was writing everything down and going, oh. And it was like, it took me a day and a half.
it was
to write
the
it
only
out.
thing was just externalizing that inventory and being aware
Just-
of the numerical value.
Yeah, it's making sure we took in more than went out. Basically, that's it. And I'm going, my God. And yeah, the year after we made money.
So there
We
just kind
we
of
turned a profit.
appeared some obvious kind of cuts that you could make.
Yeah,
and
we had too much going on. We had retail, we had PAs, case making. There was just too many facets to the business, and it required. What I finally discovered is it required a manager for each section, and that's another 7 employees. No, that's more drain. So I just cut back to just building alone, and that's saved my ass. Yeah, and from then on, it was great. And,
that adjustment you were able to.
Yeah, and thinking about it, focus on what you do best, and building is what I did best, not that other retailing and everything else. So no, focus. The other thing I wanted to mention is the characteristics of a bass player or a bass builder are kind of similar as our brain, I believe, thinks in a supporting role, and that expands to all the facets of your life to support and take a background and more analytical to analyze everything and make sure everything is working well. So I think that part of a bass luthier brain is probably part of my success. Analytical, see what's wrong with instruments. Analytical musically, you go, okay, the bass needs to position themselves here, and I'm not only am I doing the rhythm, but I'm doing the harmonization.
I always think that
And so
you're making sense of the harmony while
Yeah.
connecting it to the rhythm of the percussion.
Yeah.
So
you're-
even like a weirder chord progression can be justified by the right bass line.
yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
But I find that as a function of the bass player's brain, and I can relate to how they relate to life in general. Because most bass players are open, supportive, nice people, in the background, not up front, analytical. And I think that I find the bass community really nice to be with. Like, I found most bass players decent human beings.
you have so many you have so much of those qualities that you're not even playing bass, you're supporting the bass players.
Yeah.
You've gone one level deeper.
It's supporting the bass player, analytical to make the best bass possible, analytical to run a business, supportive to support the employees. They're very supportive of me in turn, so it's just I love my life right now.
Is there anything left that you want to promote, talk about? Or
something I wanted to say.
Yeah?
The bass thing.
Yeah, thank you so much for
not at all. My pleasure.
Sharing your time with me and whoever happens to find this.
Yeah, I'll make sure I'll post it on. I'll get Marcel, my social media guru guy, to link to it and
the media team. Yeah,
blow it out.
Okay, thank you very much,
Mike. Thank you so much.